Welcome to the weekly piece on the Parsha from Torah Giants on Chumash by Rabbi Yitzchak Meir Goodman. Welcome to Torah Giants on Chumash. I'm Steve Geller. This week we're going to do two connected short pieces, hand-picked, so to speak, by Rabbi Goodman on our Parsha, Tavo. Let's take a look at a pasuk from our Parsha. In Tavo 26:2, V'lakachta mereshis kol pri hadama, you shall take some of every first fruit of the soil which you harvest from the land that Hashem is giving you, v'samta vatena, and go to the place where Hashem will choose to establish the divine name. The Sefarim states that by fulfilling this mitzvah of Bikkurim, we will actually merit entering the Holy Land. The Rambam asks, how can this be so when this mitzvah can only be done in Eretz Yisrael and we haven't entered yet? Rav Meir Shapiro offers an enlightening discussion, reminding us that various commentators claim the mitzvah of Bikkurim served as an atonement for the sin of the Meraglim. Their error was in assuming that the period of spectacular supernatural miracles was now over. The very fact that Hashem let Moshe send spies to the land indicated that its conquest would be by natural forces, traditional military tactics, reconnaissance, scouting an area to obtain information about enemy forces, terrain, etc. They were therefore frightened by the sight of these mighty giants and enormous fortified cities, all based on this false assumption that Hashem wasn't with them in the conquest of the land. The mitzvah of Bikkurim is the announcement and acknowledgement that even the natural growth of the soil is a miracle of Hashem. The tefillah that accompanies bringing the Bikkurim proclaims the great power of Hashem, who brought us out of Egypt, gave us the land, and provides the great fruits that are to be brought to his holy temple. In this way, it's a negation of the error of the spies who presumed that Hashem would, quote, step aside while we endeavor to conquer the land. The fact is, on the contrary, everything is under Hashem's control and manipulation. Rav Yaakov Reisman, former Rav of the Agudah of Lawrence and Far Rockaway, expands on this magnificently. He points to a Mishna in Bikkurim, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Aleph, that goes into a lengthy description of how a farmer is going to pick the fruits that he will bring as Bikkurim. How does one set aside Bikkurim? A man goes down into his field, he sees a fig that ripened, or a cluster of grapes that ripened, or a pomegranate that ripened. He ties a string around it and says, let these be Bikkurim. Why did the Mishnah bother with this lengthy explanation and choose these three specific fruits as an example? Points out Rabbi Reisman, these are the very three fruits that the spies brought back to Moshe from their tour of Eretz Yisrael. In Bamidbar, Parsha Shlach 13:23, they reach the Nachal Eshkol and they cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes, some pomegranates, and figs. What better sign could we find that Chazal saw the connection of that terrible sin of the spies and atonement provided by this beautiful mitzvah of Bikkurim? We should stop for a moment and bask in the beauty of this amazing explanation of our pasuk. But Rabbi Goodman gives another spectacular insight encoded into our parsha. The piece is called Bikkurim How Much and points out that the Mishnah in Peah, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Aleph, tells us that the Torah never revealed how much one was expected to bring as his Bikkurim offering. And the Rambam's Hilchos Bikkurim, the accepted amount of Bikkurim is 1/60th of the produce. Suggested by Rav Shimon B'Tzalel Naiman, here is the computation Chazal may have used to come to the 1/60th number. In Mishnayos Kalim, 1 teneh holds 1/2 of a saw. In the Gemara Baba Metzia, the average donkey can carry the weight of 15 saw. In Masechta Ksubas, every tree in Israel produces a harvest requiring 2 donkeys to carry it. That would be 30 saw. It would therefore take 60 teneh baskets to carry 30 sawim. 1/60th of the produce fits in 1 teneh basket. But there's more. The word teneh for basket is much more rare than the usual sal. So unusual, in fact, that in all of Tanakh, teneh is used 4 times where sal is used 13 times. But the interesting thing is the 4 times in Tanakh that the word teneh is used all appear in our parsha, Tavo, which indicates that even more must be going on. Get ready for this. Guess what the gematria of the word teneh is? Tes is 9, Nun is 50, Aleph is 1, equals 60. Let's review what we've learned. Bikkurim is a mitzvah done in Eretz Yisrael. Why does the Torah mention it before they get there? The answer is to show Bnei Yisrael that as Hashem will be with us in the land and bless our abundant harvest, he would also be there for our conquest of the nations of Canaan, disproving the spies' contention that Hashem's miracles had ceased and we wouldn't even be able to conquer the land. Where do we see a connection between the spies and Bikkurim? The same 3 fruits mentioned in Mishna Bikkurim's description of farmers designating their first fruits are the same 3 fruits the spies brought back from their tour of the land. The Torah doesn't mention a shear for Bikkurim. How does the Torah arrive at 1/60th of the produce? We saw that 1 tena equals a half a saw. The average donkey carries 15 saw. 1 tree in Israel produces 2 donkeys worth of produce, 30 saw. 30 saw requires 60 tena baskets. Therefore, 1 basket is 1/60th of the produce. Also, the gematria of tena is 60. One could easily say that Rabbi Goodman's masterpiece, Torah Giants on Chumash, are his Bikkurim of the choicest, most delicious divrei Torah one can find. So please like, subscribe, and forward these thrilling and short pieces to your family and friends. You won't regret it.